Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals for July 28th, 2021. First item on our agenda is a determination of a quorum. There being 5 members on this board, there's 3 present, so we do have a quorum. Next item is a consideration of the minutes. We had 3 different meetings of minutes provided to the board members for March 24th, 2021, April 28th, 2021, and June 23rd, 2021. Are there any changes necessary to those minutes? Hearing none, those minutes will stand as written. Next, we'll move to new business. We have a variance application today, application Z21022 by Aldi's, represented by Bradley Bork. They're requesting a variance from the required 42-foot front yard setback on Malachite Drive in order to allow a 20-foot setback. The property is zoned commercial highway and is located along the southwest corner of Franklin Road and Covenant Road. Ms. Rush, I believe you're reviewing that one for us.
Yes, the subject property is located at the southwest corner of Franklin Road, Covenant Boulevard, and the frontage of Malachite Drive. I have it depicted in a kind of a teal blue, light blue square that's on this vicinity map. You can see that it's got the property frontages along 3 sides there. It is approximately 2.13 acres in size and is zoned commercial highway, CH. The site is currently vacant, but does have a detention basin located on the southeast corner of the site. The applicant is asking for a setback variance due to the 3 frontages. When you have a street frontage, the requirement per the zoning ordinance is that you have to have a front setback. In this case, with the CH zoning, it's a 42-foot front setback on 3 sides of the property. The applicant's letter indicates that they are wishing to construct a store model for Aldi that's approximately 20,000 square feet in size, and then a future addition of 2,450 square feet. They state that the city zoning ordinance requires the property having the 42 front setback is the difficulty that they have with constructing their addition in the building and creates for them a hardship. The applicant's letter was included as an attachment to the staff report for reference. As we've gone through these before for variances, there are standards that are required per the zoning ordinance. There are 5 standards that must be met. If one or any of these standards are not met, we would not be able to recommend granting of the variance per the law. So the first variance is for that there are practical difficulties due to the specifically identified characteristics of the land. I'm going to scroll through this. So this was the site plan that shows on the left-hand side the proposal for Aldi's with the addition and indicating the dimensions and the location of where the variance is requested. The site plan to the right is the proposed site plan without the building addition. The applicant has made an application for site plan, and we're currently reviewing it for the version that's on the right. The applicant has provided elevations of the building. This is with the addition to the rear. The arrows are pointing to those areas where the addition would be located. The next aerial will show you the building that's proposed to be constructed without the addition in its current site plan application. The applicant has also included a rendering that shows what the building would look like from Malachite, with the view of the building with the addition encroaching into the setback. So as we were indicating, there are certain standards that must be met. So the first one is that there are practical difficulties that are due to the characteristics of the land. For example, the property is too narrow, or there's a topography or steep slope issue, something that's related specifically to the characteristic of the property itself. The second standard is that there are unusual characteristics of the subject land as compared to other land in the same zoning classification and area. I'll show you back on the first slide that I had. There are multiple properties in this vicinity that are zoned CH, so it has the similar zoning district. The property owner for this site has also developed or has property on other sites in the vicinity. And you could see from the aerial that there are multiple properties in the vicinity that do have frontages on 3 sides. Recently, the car wash, I think it's Sammy's Car Wash, is located to the west. They were able to construct within the required setbacks on all 3 sides, did not need a variance. There are properties that are also developed to the east that have 3 frontages, also constructed within the front setbacks as required. And we recently did a site plan that's approved but not constructed for Christian Brothers Automotive Repair, which is about next door to this particular property. Number 3 is that there are specific characteristics or a hardship that's not self-created. In this case, it feels that because the site's not developed, even though the applicants indicated that they were not the subdivider of the land, by choosing to do the addition to the building, it is a self-created hardship, or it is self-created and not a hardship. The 4th standard is granting the variance will not be unduly detrimental to other land in the vicinity of the requested variance. Staff did not see a conflict with this. And number 5, granting the variance will not impair light and air due to adjacent properties, increasing congestion, increasing the danger of fire, endangering public health, safety, comfort, and morals for the area. So based upon the analysis of the application materials and the building, staff feels that standards 1, 2, and 3 were not met. That those were things that do not fit with this particular application, and that standards 4 and 5 were acceptable. I'm going to go back to the aerial that shows different properties. So the ones in purple, you'll see some are built on. There's one that's vacant. Those all have frontages on 3 sides, and they're all zoned CH. So it is possible with various building shapes and sizes that you can't fit within the development constraints of this site. The applicant's here today. She also would like to make a presentation about why they feel that there is a hardship, and she asked that I put up the elevations and the rendering for her presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board at this time.
Yes, ma'am. You mentioned some adjacent properties that have no problem with the being on 3 sides, but as I was reviewing the notes and all, you know, those are not large buildings to begin with, or wouldn't be the automotive place, and they wouldn't be comparable to a facility of this size. So as I was looking at your aerial, is there any other properties with that same influence of frontage on 3 sides that are what we would consider more of a larger
That in itself is not one of the standards because.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a question. Do you have that I was asking?
Just looking at it, it looks like possibly the building over towards the northeastern corner may be of comparable size, both in parcel and possibly in building. I don't know exactly the square footage of these buildings, though, just judging from the
Right.
view of it.
And the retention pond, that's pretty much our standard. That's our requirement from the planning commission, right?
When they had subdivided this particular piece of land, they took an approach of more of like a general or regional detention. And in order to do stormwater management, they have it all on one site rather than each site providing its own. And that's because I think the parcels are about a little bit over 1 acre. This one is a little over 2 acres in size.
Does that impair this developer's ability to put in this larger building?
They say that it does, yeah. I mean, it's, they
What
do have to
what do you say?
accommodate.
What do you say?
Staff believes that when you have a vacant land and it's commercial, it's not developed for a certain use in mind. It's developed for anything that's in the CH district per our use chart. And buildings can be larger like a Costco or much smaller like a car wash. So it does not meet the findings for a variance. But in the case of an Aldi's, they need a little bit more room. This is a very difficult site for them to build on.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question also. If this rear road, I think, is Machin?
Malachite.
Malachite.
Thank you.
I think so. You pronounce.
It's Malachite, yes.
I'm
All
guessing. you
right,
pronounce it.
so if that road was not there and it was a rear setback, what would that rear setback requirement
Yeah,
be?
good question.
20, which is what they were proposing.
Okay,
20.
all right. Thank you.
You're
What's
welcome.
why does it matter for us whether if we are considering a variance, whether it's commercial or a home? There's been several of these we've denied for the same reason for homeowners. We've told builders that are building for homeowners that they cannot build a house that's too big for the space that they've provided, and they'll have to either subdivide their subdivision or find a smaller house to put on that lot. What's the difference between, is there any reason that we should consider it differently when in the past we've denied these for homeowners?
No, I think in my opinion, with the house, if the house is generally the same size as other houses in the neighborhood, that is something to take into consideration. With the commercial property, there's such a large variety of uses and building sizes and lot sizes, it's very difficult to make a comparison. Whereas in the residential neighborhood, you generally have parcels of the same size or houses generally of the same size.
And
So
yet
it's
we've
something to
denied
consider.
variances, similar variances for homeowners.
Yeah, and typically the ones that we've denied are because they're asking for a larger home
And
on
a
a
smaller lot.
on a small lot, or a lot that's comparable to the neighborhood. They're just asking for more than what the neighbors have. So,
Malachite Drive, that was one that I guess the current property owner decided to put in, I guess, as far as their planning of this lot. So that was their choice to have that road there and these lots laid out like that.
yeah, and I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the developer, but oftentimes I think when they're trying to sell the property, there's another opportunity then to get access to a road. Franklin Highway is a busy traveled roadway. It's a state highway, of course. So trying to get access in and out can be challenging. So generally, he's provided a side street and then a rear road access so that customers can easily get in and out of.
Okay. And they're requesting the larger footprint of the store. If they didn't have the addition, would it meet the 42-foot rear, I guess a front setback in that case, if it was the smaller footprint store?
Correct.
Okay, it would work otherwise. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions for staff at this point? Hearing none, we'll go to the applicant. Provide us any information and
Hi, folks. My name is Kelly Hyatt with CESO on behalf of Aldi, on behalf of Brad Bork as well. He had a baby, so I got to fill in. Well, his wife had a baby. I appreciate your time today and the consideration of this variance for Aldi. As staff presented, we are requesting a malachite setback to, instead of being looked at as a front setback, more as a rear, and meeting the rear setback requirement of 20 feet if that had been a private road or another commercial lot. As you saw in the site plan, it is the rear of the building. It is a, malachite is a, it's a commercial feeder road meant to service the other commercial lots. So this wouldn't be a case in which there's residents driving by or people going home from work. It's all people who are trying to get to the commercial developments, leaving the commercial developments. And so we didn't feel like it infringed on the city and for anybody using that road. Aldi has offered to add more screening if that's part of the concern, add more landscaping, and can continue to work with staff on what that would look like. We do feel it is a hardship because of there are 3 public frontages, and as staff mentioned, there are others, but each user is really individual, and each user is, for example, with Aldi, they do have a future growth plan, and it is part of their site selection and part of it. They build this initial building so they can get into a development and continue to serve the communities. Aldi has a couple other locations in Murfreesboro, and if you look at their maps, this is kind of the unused area. We've heard from other people of, we love Aldi, it's just not on my way home, or it's not that type of thing. And so that's what we're trying to do, is provide this to that western side of Murfreesboro. We looked at a number of different lots, and this is the best one. There's just, for the demographics of who needs grocery, where, on what roads, and all of that for this specific user. And as you mentioned, it is a large building. We're trying to fit a lot on a little site, but that's how development goes these days. And for Aldi to move forward with this, they really need that growth plan so that they can provide the more fresh products, more products they plan. They have all of their buildings moving forward have this growth. I think the one on Robert Rose was expanded a couple years ago. They went through that expansion plan on all of their facilities a number of years ago, and they're trying to plan for that moving forward, and it becomes critical for them to continue to serve the community with the fresh products and the new lines that they have anticipated for the area. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for the applicant at this point?
So the site plan that you're asking us to review, are you overparked in any way by chance?
We have the parking that we've found the grocery store does need. It is a little more than the city's requirement is, but based on demographics of what we find that it needs, it's actually underparked for what Aldi would typically like, trying to make sure. It was actually with working with staff that we reduced that parking to provide more connectivity and more green space as they wanted and required.
And where I was going with that is if you had overparked, if you could reconfigure your building to get the square footage that you wanted, but doesn't sound like that's a possibility.
Unfortunately, we've already reduced the parking to as far as Aldi will consider.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Okay, I think I misunderstood that. Would you repeat? You're telling me that there could be less spaces, but it's Aldi that's demanding it?
So Aldi's done studies on what they use. So just like, your zoning ordinance are written in a way for an average user, just like, I'm pretty sure I drove by the Chick-fil-A on the way here, that although I think usually it's like 5 queuing spaces, Chick-fil-A needs 15. So although we have found, and Aldi has studied, that they need more parking to serve their customers than what your zoning ordinance requires. So in order to keep congestion down and make it to ride for the customers, they do have more parking than the zoning ordinance requires, but less than they typically require based on their studies.
Without me having to count, how many parking spaces are in this plan?
90.
90.
Yes, sir.
And what would be the requirement if someone from the planning department can answer?
I don't recall. It's based on 1 to 300 square feet. How big was the building?
It's 220,000 and some. I believe it's in the 60 to 70 that is required.
You may not know this, but there's one on Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
How many parking spaces are in that building?
I'm gonna say at least 90, because I know that Aldi won't, their standard is 95.
I would lose that bet if that were me, 'cause I would think, no, there's nowhere near that, but just, okay, sorry.
Any further questions?
No.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. If there's anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you'd come forward and give us your name and address and any comments you may have.
My name is Bruce Kirk. I'm with Swanson Developments. We own the property. We're very, very pleased to have Aldi come and look at it. We certainly support their request. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion.
Well, as my comments earlier probably suggested, I don't think it's appropriate for us to vote in a different way than we would vote for a homeowner because a business is coming to town. I don't think that's fair to our citizens. And I hear continuous problems based on what Aldi wants to do, not what the property is. I've told homeowners the same thing. If you want to have an extra kitchen, if you want to have an extra bonus room, that's your choice. That isn't anything we're limiting you to do. If you want to have extra parking spaces and you want to have a bigger space to have fresh produce, great, you're going to need a bigger piece of land. I plan to vote no on this application, and I'm sorry, because I know that you're searching hard to find a good space for this. But I don't think it's fair to the citizens of Murfreesboro for me to tell them they can't have bigger houses on a smaller lot, and I tell Aldi the opposite. So that's my personal opinion on that. I don't think I can be swayed. But there's 3 more.
I would agree, the standard of being self-created, I mean, I guess you had a piece of property that was laid out and setbacks were given ahead of time, and while it's not on the frontage, and appreciate the offer with landscaping, it's still, to boil it down in simple terms, it was trying to, something of your own making, so I'm with Ms. King that I'll probably be against it.
I hate to say this, I think you can make an argument either way. The detention, you knew the detention pond was there, but that is in my view, that's a practical difficulty in and of itself. That was not self-made. And I know we probably can't take this into consideration, but the fact of the matter is if this access road, Malachite, wasn't there, this wouldn't even be coming before us. But I understand the opinions of the other board members with respects to the self-created piece of the puzzle, so.
Sorry. I'm okay. Piece of the water bottle came off in my mouth.
Oh, my word.
Gosh. Is there a motion, or I assume if there's not a motion made, then the application would fail?
We're not voting at all on the no addition site plan. That is just to see for comparison, correct?
That was just for comparison purposes.
Okay. Because, obviously that meets, there would be no need for a variance if that was the case, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would think if you have folks in opposition, they have the right to make a motion to deny it as much as they do sit here with crickets.
Yes, and I'll.
We can all move.
Want to speak
Yes,
to that?
I'll add to that, for either a granting or a denial of a variance, the BZA has to give written findings of fact stating which elements are or are not proven by preponderance of the evidence. So it would make the process on the back end a lot smoother if there was a motion of some sort with proposed findings.
Well, I can make a motion to deny based on the fact that the applicant failed to show the Board of Zoning Appeals that there are practical difficulties based on the topography or other condition of the land, than narrowness, shallowness, shape, or any other difficulty to comply with the general applicable regulations, that the applicant did not show those practical difficulties. Based on that alone, an applicant cannot have a variance. There would be no reason for me to go through the rest of the standards, correct?
I think we do.
Subsection F of the relevant code section says we shall make specific findings of fact on each of the above standards.
Okay, I'll keep going. The property's physical features are not unusual when compared to other property in the same zoning district. Neither, and the applicant did not show the physical features that were unusual compared to other property. And neither the practical difficulties nor the unusual characteristics of the property resulted on deliberate action of the homeowner. The board would find that the applicant did not show that neither the practical difficulties nor the unusual characteristics were resulted from that. Rather, the building itself is the cause for the need for a variance, not the land. The BZA would find that the variance will not impair an adequate supply of light or an air to the adjacent property. The variance would not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets. The variance would not increase the danger of fire, and the variance would not endanger the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of city residents. But from those findings, the BZA, I would move that the BZA deny this application.
Have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. All right. All in favor say aye.
Question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can the chair make a second motion?
Yes, you're probably thinking of a previous meeting where we called a point of
I'm
order.
just thinking
on the
in
chair.
general about Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes, generally Robert's Rules of Order, and the reason we called the point of order, I think it was 2 meetings ago, under Robert's Rules, unless there's a very small committee, usually of 3, the chair cannot make motions or second motions.
Okay.
However, based on our review of the BZA rules of procedure, there is a specific rule that allows the chair to discuss motions and to make motions in seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Which would overrule the general rule of Robert's Rules.
Thank you.
And I apologize to the chair for that improvident point of order 2 meetings ago.
It's okay. It's okay.
So let me, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Before, I know we've already got a motion, but would, so number one, there are practical difficulties due to characteristic of the land, and then the examples given are narrow, topography, slope, et cetera. So having a detention pond, in the city's opinion, would not be considered a practical difficulty of the land. Is that what I'm hearing?
There's still buildable, there's still a building pad, and it is a buildable lot. Clearly, when it was subdivided, it is ensured that there is buildable lots when it goes through our subdivision process. The applicant has demonstrated that it's a buildable lot with their site plan application without the addition, so it would not meet the criteria for number 1.
If you don't agree with my motion, you can vote against it.
No, I
and
know.
we can make a new motion.
Yeah, but before I make a new motion, I wanted an opinion on that, because if the opinion is that that's not the case, then to me, any counter motion would be mute, because in essence, we're saying it would not meet number one, no matter what. And it's any of, right?
Right, it's any of these.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to meet all of them, but if it,
I'm with you.
yeah.
All right, everybody's ready to vote on the motion to deny at this point. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, so the motion carries to deny the variance. I appreciate everybody's time on that one. Next item is a special use permit request, application Z21021 by Rutherford County Government, represented by SEC Inc. They're requesting a special use permit in accordance with the City of Murfreesboro zoning ordinance to construct a public use building for the State of Tennessee DMV and Rutherford County Register satellite offices. This property is zoned residential single-family RS15 and is located at the northwest corner of Blaze Drive and Fortress Boulevard. It says Ms. Kerr, I guess, are you?
I will represent on
Okay.
behalf of Ms. Kerr. Yeah.
Okay,
She is unavailable today.
okay.
So this proposal is for a special use permit, which is required by our zoning ordinance for public buildings that are located in a single-family residential RS15 zoning district. Rutherford County is wishing to construct this public building to allow the operations for the state DMV and the county registrar's office, or satellite offices. So they're not relocating from their current location. This is just going to be a satellite office that will serve the west side of our city. The property is located at the intersection of Blaze Drive and Fortress Boulevard. It's at the northwest corner. Let me scroll through this. It's at the northwest corner, adjacent to the City of Murfreesboro Fire Station number 11 and police substation. Other properties in the vicinity include the Blackman Middle School and Rutherford County E911 building. This is a 17.6 acre site, of which the county will be leasing approximately 5.5 acres for this project, as well as future development of the site. I'm going to go to the master plan. You could see, let's see. I can make it a little bigger. So this is the master plan. The building that is for this special use permit is the one that's in the lower right-hand corner of the parcel. And then future buildings are proposed through this master plan. The office hours of operation are going to be Monday through Friday between the hours of 7 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock p.m. Traffic projections for peak times really won't be generated by the public use of these buildings. It will be by the employees themselves. So the city felt that this was minimal and would not impact traffic congestion in this area. The proposed facility will be accessed through the existing private drive on Blaze Drive, and also an entrance off of Fortress Boulevard. It will include 86 parking stalls that'll accommodate the employees as well as the customers. On-site lighting will be directed down onto the site, and there are certain sections or certain standards within our zoning ordinance that are required to be met. So there are general applicability standards for all special use permits, and I'll go through those briefly as it pertains to the site. That the proposed building or use will not have a substantial or undue adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, parking and utility facilities, or other matters affecting public health, safety, and general welfare. Based upon the proposal, staff believes that this is not going to impact the neighborhood or the surrounding area, that this use is compatible with other public buildings and uses in the vicinity. And as designed, it will not affect or detract any at all from the neighborhood. All parking that's needed for this use will be provided on site, And in fact, I think it's overparked, but I don't know by how many spaces. So there are more than enough parking on this proposal. The second standard is that the proposed building or use will be constructed, arranged, and operated to be compatible with the immediate vicinity and not interfere with the development and use of adjacent property. Again, adjacent property are primarily public uses. It will be oriented the front to face Blaze Drive, so it does have a frontage out on the main road, similar to the other buildings in this general quadrant. And it will not, the photometric plan shows that it will not impact lighting off-site. It will just light the parking areas for safety reasons. And then there's an existing landscaping buffer along the north or rear of the property that will remain in place and provide screening between this use. You'll also see there's a creek, or the river runs along the north, so there's quite a bit of vegetation that would provide good visual screening. It includes the trash enclosure on the site. Let's see. That is one of the requirements that has to be met as part of the use permit. The next standard is C. The proposed building or use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highway, streets, parking spaces, drainage structures, refuse disposal, fire protection, water and sewer. For this site, all of those services will be provided. It has access to all of those: water and sewer, existing streets, so nothing new will have to be constructed for public services in this site. In addition to these standards, there's also standards that are, there's a couple more. That the proposed building or use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of any feature determined by the BZA to be significant, natural, scenic, or historic importance. There's nothing on site that would be destroyed or demolished as a result of this proposal. And then E, the proposed building or use complies with all additional standards imposed on by provisions of this section of the zoning ordinance. And those additional provisions are the ones that I did not address in the staff report, but I'll just go through quickly. The first one, these are specific to institutional group buildings, public buildings. First one is parking shall be designed and arranged so that cars are not backing out into the street. In this case, cars are always, they're on the parking lot, they will not be backing out into the street. In residential districts, institutional group assembly uses have a lot size that's not less than 3 times the minimum lot size, so it needs to be at least 1 acre in size. This exceeds the 1 acre because it's a 5-acre parcel. On-site lighting will not impact the surrounding neighborhood. It does not. Applications for institutional group assembly shall indicate the location of the garbage or trash receptacle. It's shown on the site plan. Areas for outdoor recreational use or outdoor group activities shall be screened or fenced. So as I indicated, there is vegetative screening that will occur, and then there's existing from the river itself. There will not be any outdoor recreational or group activities, so that really doesn't apply. The number of required parking spaces provided shall be met in accordance with Chart 4 of the zoning ordinance. Their parking exceeds our parking standards. They should have a description of the uses or activities proposed for the building. So we've covered that in the staff report, the hours of operation, the days of the week, and the uses of the building. Number 8 is the BZA shall have authority to approve the project on location with water and sewer connections for accommodations for travel trailers or RVs. So if they ever want to come back and have RVs parked on site, you have the authority, if you wish, to approve that. The BZA has the authority to grant variances to the standards imposed by this subsection if you find that it meets those standards or is not able to for hardship. And that the group assembly will indicate if there's any intention for outdoor broadcast of speech, music, or other sounds. So any outdoor amplification, and in this case, there's no outdoor amplification requested. That covers all the additional standards that I omitted from the staff report. Thank you for your patience in getting through those. I am happy to answer any questions from the board in regards to the special use permit request. We also have representatives from the county that are here as well.
So I have 2 questions. The drive-through window, and I can't remember all the services that are going to be provided in this building, what's the purpose in the drive-through window?
I think it was for the payments of tags, like, it's for the county register, it's probably
Okay,
for
so
the
you can
vehicle
renew your
tags.
tags here? Okay. Did I hear DMV was going to be in? Are you going to be able to take tests? So it's just an office for the Department of DMV, but not my kid who turned 16 goes to get a test and is driving out of here, right? Okay.
So this is basically the same function that happened downtown?
Yes, Mike Hughes, Rutherford County Engineering Department, representing, well, with others, this project. So the DMV is going to be a pilot program. It will be limited staff, but it will be for driver's license renewals, not taking the test.
I'm with you.
So they feel that this is one of a few sites that they're going to do in the state where you'll just renew your license with kiosk or staff, limited staff. So,
Okay.
but you'll still take your driver's test over at Middle Tennessee Old Samsonite.
Reduce some of the traffic that's over here.
Yes, and we have a satellite county clerk's office in Smyrna. This is the same thing we would like to do on the west side with all the growth that we're experiencing on the west side of the interstate, plus all the dealerships. They need to get their tags for all the automobiles that they'll be selling. So
It looks like you've got all kind of stacking space. That's why,
Yes,
at
that
first I
was
thought
all- yes,
you
sir.
were turning right into this thing, and people would be backing up where people couldn't get out in this parking, but that does not look like the site plan.
No,
as
sir.
The
No, sir.
traffic,
That-
yeah.
That was one of the things, most of our business now at our central location is through the drive-through. So this gives us the ability to get a lot of dual windows with adequate stacking plus a bypass lane.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we think that'll be great.
Very smart.
Yes.
I get my tags in Smyrna when I visit my parents. So.
And hopefully additional parking will be coming to that location. We're working on that as well.
I've never had a problem with parking.
At the end of the month or the beginning of the month, they're parking on the grass.
Yeah.
We're trying to get some more up there.
Emissions and over here, that's what they do in Smyrna. It's convenient.
Right. Well, emissions hopefully will be going away because the state is in compliance with emission
We
standards.
won't have to worry about that.
Yes.
Any further questions? Thank you for your
Yes, sir. Thank you.
clarification.
May I add? We are, I don't know if you have the architecturals, Maria.
I do.
We wanted to complement what the fire station so it would be uniform on that corner. And then, it's designed together with city parcels, city buildings in that area. So that's what we're hoping to do. We're going to design the stormwater management area to be adequate for all of the future uses and parking. The state wanted additional parking for the quick in and out. That's why there's a little bit higher parking on their end. But we will share parking with the other uses in this area because it's all designed together. And so, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's all right, thank you. At this time, we'll conduct the public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you'd come forward? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve. Do we need to go for this special use permit? Do we need to go through these 1 through 5?
1 through 8,
Oh, my.
sign variance. Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't
Pardon
have
me.
to make written
You're right.
findings for each
We do not.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
Subject to all staff comments.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That application's been approved. Appreciate everybody's help with that one. Next item on our agenda, staff reports and other business.
Our assistant city attorney had mentioned after the last meeting that we may be bringing back our BZA standards, process and procedures. just to review and see if there's some things that need to be updated. So it'll be maybe a training session that we could schedule in the next month or two.
Some old dogs may need training, believe me.
Sure, it never hurts. All right, something to look forward to. Anything else?
No, sir?
All right, we shall adjourn. Appreciate everybody's time.